Joining us now to further discuss the strike is Seth Schackner. He's a former major music label exec and managing director of Strat Americas. Seth, do you see the unfairness in pay that the writers are frustrated about?
Yeah, definitely. This is a landscape where a lot has changed. Streaming has really shaken up a little bit of everything from the studios to the streaming services. And I think everyone on the talent side and writers are a really fundamental part of the business. You can't have much without them. They're all struggling to find a new spot, a new place in the ecosystem. So totally sympathize, and I definitely see and feel, the anger and the reason for it for sure.
So I think what's interesting about this for the average person is you would think Hollywood writers, they make all this money, they're living a big life, and so what do they have to be upset about? But I mean, what is the reality about how they live and what they're facing?
Yeah, the reality is pretty different. Actually, like there's been more and more production of shows, television shows, or streaming shows here in the U.S. and internationally. But the model's changed. Streaming services now are grabbing a larger and larger share of audience, and those are either subscription, or advertising based. And candidly, the writer's share of the earnings and of the revenue has either stagnated or actually dropped. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but it is true.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people selfishly are going to wonder what happens to our favorite shows during all of this. Do you have, I'm sure it's different from show to show, but I was reading it's different for shows that are on right now, perhaps live shows, than it is for shows that are being written for.
Yeah.
That, of course, would come out later. So what do you know about any of that?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I mean, so on the scripted side, dramas, studios and streamers have like a supply line, a supply chain, if you will. So if this were to be a long stoppage, and I think it's actually possible this is going to go on for some time, you might not notice things in terms of your favorite shows until next season, right? 3 or 4 months when the supplies have been either run or dwindling down. But, hopefully it'll get resolved before then. But, for things like live shows, SNL that NBC has, or, certainly all the late night stuff where there's scripted, each night and there's writers, those are going to be immediately hit, basically, if you will.
Yeah.
Probably some foreign stuff that won't be touched by it, but you will see it over time once the supplies dwindle down.
Yeah. And do you think the strike is enough incentive for the streaming networks, the big TV networks, to kind of give the writers what they want? I know this has happened before. Is that what happened?
It's definitely an incentive to get this resolved. There's no question about it. So, but I think this is a pretty hard thing. They're asking for some fundamental changes in the way they get paid, kind of tweaking residuals, if you will, royalties for the new age. And the writers have something called writer's room that they feel very, very strongly about, that some of the tech titans and the streaming services don't really necessarily respect. And, there's some concerns about seeing data for the streaming services, which is a problem that everyone shares, and even AI. So this is a hard thing they're trying to achieve. And I am hopeful that it'll get resolved. I'm pretty sure that it will. Maybe the studios will throw money at this to some degree in the short term, but I think you're likely to see this go on. I mean, I think some of the estimates look at the fall because we're getting close to the summer for it to be resolved. I hope it doesn't. So,
yeah, I think a lot of us do. All right, Seth Schackner, thank you so much for your insight as always. We appreciate you.
Good to be here.